My name is Tayo Shanubi, and I'll be moderating the Women in Arts panel this morning. I'm a writer, actor, director, singer, producer, dancer, and so on. And I am joined this morning by these three amazing, amazing women. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, just in a few sentences, who you are, what you do.
Is that your name?
Yeah.
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Ray, and I'm a playwright. I am also a director. I am also a community theater practitioner. I am also a conflict expert. I'm doing my master's in peace and conflict studies at Makerere University. I love art. Thank you. I also work with the Very Arts Foundation, the curators of the Kampala International Theatre Festival.
Good morning, everyone. Brenda Ibarra. I'm a writer, director, actor, producer, and I am a lover of the arts as well. And I'm just so happy that we're going to have this conversation today about how being a woman in the arts.
Hi everyone, so my name is Sipiwe Mbanambi and I'm from South Africa and I'm an applied theatre practitioner. I've just completed my master's with VETS Drama for Life in applied theatre, and I'm also an ethnographic researcher, so I'm very interested and fascinated by research. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I'm an artist.
So I want this to be very conversational. It doesn't have to be too structured, but I will just be asking questions, and then afterwards, towards the end, we'll open it up to the audience if they have any questions as well. So I'd like to start by asking each of you about your personal artistic journeys, how you got to where you are now, and if you could use one word to describe where you are now in your journey, what would it be? You can start anyone. You can start anyone.
I've been transformative, this is where I am. But my journey started in community theatre. So I started getting interested in just like the dialogues that are happening in the community, and that led me to community development. And yeah, now I'm more into really working with like, transformative work.
I think the word I would use for my journey right now is courage. I'm like in a space where I'm finally allowing myself to be more courageous with my voice, and exploring how to tell more personal stories and not being afraid of being vulnerable. So yeah, just having the courage to, just be vulnerable. My journey is more of, I went to drama school and then I left drama school to go into media studies, and I worked in the media for like about a decade, mostly TV and film. And then in 2020, the world shut down and I reconsidered my entire life. And so I came back to theater, and I was an emerging artist with the Very Arts Foundation in 2021, together with her. We're in the same cohort. And so for the past 3.5 years, I went back to the beginning and I said, I really just want to do theater and film sometimes. So that's the journey I've been on, and so far it's been very rewarding. Yeah, so.
Thank you. I wouldn't say I really have a word to describe my artistic journey, because it started with just a little book by by Charlotte Bronte. It's called Jane Eyre, and I thought it's I thought that books or these stories that were published in books were written by magicians, and I thought it's the computer that did the story, and there was no human being that would really come up with a story. And I wanted to do something like that, but I said, I didn't create a computer, so I cannot do this. But the more I kept growing and writing these stories in papers and tearing these papers, and the more I kept on doing that and that and that, I think that's how I discovered that actually these books are not created by computers. These stories are created by human beings. And when I personally wanted to be a lawyer, and then when I reached campus, I applied to be a lawyer, and I applied for drama and film as a last choice because there were no more courses to apply for. So I was like, let me just have this. I don't have time to really look into the books to find a better choice of a course to apply for. And unfortunately, I was given drama and film. And when I was given that, I asked what does it involve, and they told me it involves writing and all that. And I was like, oh, okay, so I can become a writer if I take on this course. And they said yes. So that's how I became a writer, and that's how I discovered myself. But also, after discovering that, I realized that that wasn't really enough. And that's why I'm on a journey, if that's the word I would choose. It's a journey that I'm still discovering myself as a playwright and as a female playwright, taking on the course of peace and conflict resolution. So I guess I'm just still on the journey.
So, Brenda and Mahira, you guys both did the Emerging Artists program. How did that influence, if at all, your style and sort of what you are doing now?
Okay, I think so. For me, because I was given the space to kind of like find my voice, I found that for a long time when I thought about telling stories, I would always consider other people's stories, and even especially with a background in like media, I would mostly produce shows for the broadcast, televisions, and everything is about like, how you're going to make the station look good. And then I realized that I never had control over the stories because the orders came from above. And so that sense of like feeling constantly, even if you had ideas, you couldn't really share them. But then when I came to the Emerging Artists Lab, it was so important for us to have our own voices. Like no matter, how silly your idea was or how unconventional, it was very much encouraged. And I think, because initially I came in to learn more about playwriting. But then I discovered that, my mentor, Asimwe, actually, she's on stage, like, you do have an eye for directing. And I was like, I do? And he's like, yeah. So she kept on, trying to nurture that. And before I knew it, I was like, okay, I guess I can be more than a writer, I can direct, because directing used to terrify me. And so it helped me to be more in tune with my own voice. And it has taken time, obviously, because I feel like this is the year that I've finally kind of, all that work is now paying off. But also I still struggle with, I don't know whether it's something that actors do, because I kind of like, I'm like a sponge, yeah? Mm-hmm. Like it's so easy for me, if I hang around Tayo for like 2 days, I will start taking on her mannerisms, So sometimes it's very easy for me to like pick on the voices of other people. And I think even yesterday, one of the comments that were given during the reading of my play was that my work or my writing sounds like, my dramaturg's writing. And I'm like, that's insane. Because like Lloyd's my partner, and I'm like, I can see why that makes a lot of sense. Because like I've known him for a very long time. And so I feel like at the same time as I'm trying to discover my own voice, also I have to make sure that, I don't know, it's a very interesting space to be in, because what do you do when you're like a fan of someone's work and then but you still have to find your own voice? And there is this saying that imitation precedes, I don't know, English kids, flattery.
Imitation is the sincerest
Form of flattery.
Yes.
Yeah, no, there's another
No?
one. Imitation precedes like something like creation. Like you start off by, let's say if you are teaching me, I'll start off by sounding like you, but then afterwards I will find my own voice. Yes, exactly. And so for me, I feel like I've kind of gone around, but it's been a very interesting journey to kind of like really struggle for my voice and be like, okay. And so when I got that comment yesterday, I was kind of like, oh, okay, like I need to work on that, because I thought I was starting to sound like myself, but then I guess there's still some work to do. And so back to the actual question, how being part of the emerging artists like shaped the work I do now. Mostly it's being shameless and believing in your ideas and knowing that there's no bad idea, and that as long as you put in the time and the work, it can work out. So yeah, I hope I've...
Yeah, no, you have. I think what you said about finding your voice, I think we need to give ourselves a bit more grace with that, because we as people are constantly evolving, and how we write and what we write about is constantly evolving. So our voice will probably change like over time, and that's okay. I think it's fine to have like, influence, because I know in my writing people say, oh, I can see that you're influenced by this person and whatever, but what about you?
For me, I don't know, but I've not received a comment as such. But maybe I've received a comment of in regards to my voice. I sound like me in my work, and my work sounds like you. So I don't know what that means. And so when someone reads my work, anything that I've written, they see me there in all the characters, or in all any other character, they see me there. So I don't know if it's a problem or it's a good thing. But for me, from the lab, I realized because we're like 9 people.
Inside out 12,
and
then
then
9.
Yes. Yeah. So we all had different artistic voices in terms of writing, and we all had what we wanted to write about. And for me, I was confused whether to write like my lecturer who taught me playwriting, whether to write like, the historical playwrights of Africa. I was just confused. But then the thing was, what do I want to write about? Because they wrote, and what do I want to write about? So I decided to focus my artistic voice on what I feel is serious, and we don't want to talk about it. And it's a little bit sensitive that we talk about these things, but we don't want to see these things being talked about in our presence. And we pretend because we think maybe we are good people or we are bad people. So for me, that's how I refocused I love talking about serious things that we cannot talk about, things that we are afraid of addressing, whether good or bad. Yeah, but I don't want to be serious when I'm talking about them. So that's how I discovered my artistic voice in the emerging artistic discipline. Yes.
I could really see that last night, and I don't know how many of us saw People of Mine last night. It was It was hilarious. I think it was one of the best shows I've seen in Kampala ever, truly. Sipiwe.
Yeah.
So you are a theater practitioner and a masseuse.
Mhm.
Those are two things that are not often, that
Integrated.
are never really in the same room. How did you find that collaboration between these two fields?
So yeah, as I said, that I've always been fascinated by using theatre as a transformative tool. And COVID happened, so we're not allowed to touch each other. We couldn't even have face-to-face engagement. And I think I'm one of those people who really want this kind of face-to-face conversations. And also touch, just to give people hugs. Like many people, when I see them, I always give them hugs. So for me, really, I'm more seated into touch. And I was just wondering that, and as I was doing the process of my research, so I realized that I am a performer, and I was wondering how I can actually use touch and integrate it within the performance space. So I was like, maybe if I could actually go and train as a masseuse, get to see people on the other side of the bed, the process, what are they going through as they touch other people. And I thought that would be fascinating because I was a performer, and I actually no, I thought initially we are all performers, whether you're a tattoo artist or you're an actress, I thought all of us were actually are performers. So that's where it started. And then I was like, no, okay, so then maybe how about I go train, and if I train, I will have two skills, meaning as a performer and as a masseuse therapist. And I wanted to see how I can integrate the methodologies of healing into the performance space. I don't know if I make sense.
Yeah.
And also, this journey, it was not easy, guys. It's more about figuring. You don't really know what you're doing. Sometimes you figure something or people criticize you, or it's a bit how you say, it's massage and performance. But for me, it was more about just continuously figuring, questioning things, and seeing how we can find new ways of forming knowledge and of really using theatre as a tool to transform our lives. I don't know if I...
Yes, so much sense. I think we often think of theatre as, when we think of theatre as therapy, it's often sort of emotional therapy or mental therapy. But I don't think we delve into the physical element of it, and also how a lot of trauma and emotions are stored in the physical body.
Like the body keeps the score.
Exactly. Is this something that, for example, during your workshop yesterday, is this something that you kind of touched on or or explored?
Yes. Touch it's one of the major things, and as I say, the body keeps the score. So, I really wanted to really sit in this space of a Black woman's body, and as I say, that my journey started in community theatre, and I've always found myself in spaces where it's male dominated, and so for me it was how do I find ways where I could also use my body to ease the tensions, but also to transform myself, because through really being in my body, I'm able to get to spaces and break this barriers. If you've been in spaces where it's male dominated and you feel it that I think we treated different as women, you get to a point where you want to find other ways of how you can really get into it. And for me, I think the body is one of the things that we can start with. Black women, most of the time, they are farm laborers, they are wives, they are domesticated, And so there's many things, I think the more you question, you figure, there's always many things that comes in really understanding yourself. So, I don't know if I make sense, because it's and I think for me also in my workshop, it was more about the process. You know, if you really follow the process, and during the process, sometimes you feel like you're losing your mind, sometimes you think you're right, some days you wake up, you're like, no, you know. So I think the process is important, because once you get to the end, you're able to look back to see that actually this process was very important. So even in my workshop, when we started, it was just like clean paper, literally, like with nothing. And by the end of the workshop, you know, there was a lot of information where we can clearly see how much, like, the stresses, the tensions that are sitting in our body that we have, and how much our body actually we carry in different spaces. You go to church, you use your body. You go to school, like different spaces that we enter in our own bodies. So how do we go back and really sit into our bodies and have the sense of awareness? How do we, what's the word? Yeah, also I think also just to start having critical conversations about our bodies.
Yeah. So I wanted to like just add something to what she's saying, because even hearing her saying that she's doing peace and conflict resolution, because I'm in a place where I find that theater more and more, like you say, is a tool for so many things. And I'm very interested in the intersection of like theater and other things, whether it's theater and, like she said, you know, touch therapy, peace and conflict resolution, whether it's even psychotherapy, or because like you had, if anyone had a remind, Wednesday, we are doing theater as therapy, like it's our, like, you know, umbrella something. And so I'm in a space where I'm actually trying to study psychology now, because I realized that I'm very curious about the human mind. But then I'm like, I have this theater, you know, background, and how can I fuse those two to bring something to the people? But I'm not interested in that kind of psychology or therapy where you sit the Western psychology, because I've realized that it doesn't really work for so many of the African people. And so I'm very curious about even how we used to, like, you know, heal ourselves before Western psychology or Western medicine. And most of the things that we used to do were music, dance, you know, drama, community activities. And it's so interesting because when we were doing, we were working with some therapists during our production. Like we had some people come on board to like even try and talk to the artists to prepare them mentally for such, you know, heavy work. And then there's one of the he's a psychiatrist student. He said something I found so interesting about language, and how language in Africa was one of the ways you would know how a person is doing, and especially in our greetings. And so where I come from in Western Uganda, and I think you can relate, we have this thing of where when you greet someone, it's like you say, wait, where is it going? Sorry guys, too much English in my head. Kije, Mohoro, Mohoroje, Ogumire, like it goes on. And the idea behind that was that a person cannot get away if they're carrying heaviness in their spirit. So the hugging is so important, and we hug like 1, 2, 3.
So it was a specific way.
Yes, very specific, so that if a person is carrying something, by the 3rd or 4th, you know, they will break down and you will know exactly how you're doing. But unfortunately now,
that information, we don't have it. It's a distorted thing.
Yeah, and so I'm actually trying to do research about that and how we used to use, like, you know, greetings in different African, like, you know, tribes to really figure out how people are doing. And so what happens now, I can just come and be like, hi Tayo, hi, and then we are gone. And it's terrible, guys. Like, it's like, you will never know how I'm doing.
Yeah.
You get, because you're like, hey, I'll just...
Imagine with COVID with no touch.
Exactly.
You know,
so I found that so interesting. And even like I was talking to my mom, same thing from my Rwandan side of the family, it's the same thing. Like the hugs, the way they greet, it's deep. You cannot escape, you cannot lie, your body won't lie to the other person about how you truly feel. So just to bring it back to what she's saying, theater is a powerful tool that is not just about to come and entertain people. There's healing, there is learning, there's a cultural aspect, like there's history, there's so many things. Interesting facts, sorry I'm hogging this a bit, but interesting fact, I found out that my grandfather was, okay, in African traditional setting, the king used to have like young boys, like they used to perform for the king, like teenage boys, like they would get different boys from different villages, like the best dancers and singers, and they would come and perform for the king. And so I found out this interesting fact about my grandfather, and I was like, oh my God, I'm now so curious about my lineage in that sense. And I'm like, I can see where my love for theater and performance comes from and how it's connected. And so I'm really so, and as you can tell, I'm so passionate about this. And I just want to like dig in more and more about how, theater, is like this thing that is so powerful, but somehow it's just more, really relegated to like, creatives and they don't need money or whatever, but it's so much deeper than that.
It really is.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that you brought in like a special, like a psychologist for for some of your rehearsals for the Green Line.
Yeah.
And it's very important.
It is, and I don't think enough people do that, because I think if you think about like when you're doing a production and it's an emotional roller coaster for the actor for like 2 hours,
Right.
and sometimes you're doing 5, 6, 7, 8 shows a week. It's a lot on the mind, it's a lot on the body, it's a lot. So the more tools you have to do this sustainably, the better, and I think the longer you can do it for.
I also wanted just to touch on this, as she's mentioning here, grandmother, is the issue of ritualization. That like somehow in everything that we do, we tend to think ritualistic ways. It's things that are, like taboo or wrong or voodoo or what or negative. And it actually, I think, there's a lot of things that we have it within ourselves, like even with massage. I think it is somehow I believe that touch has always been there in humans, and it's not even about the skin color. Touch has always been there as a form of maybe healing, So hence I think also just to go back into reviewing ritualization of things or ritualistic things that we have with our grandparents or back then. I think there's more knowledge that you can bring back and still use it today and still be relevant.
Yeah.
So for me, without touch, you can't touch someone without actually going through safety and kind of it's like a ritual. I mean, in my first piece, I had to kneel down and wash her feet, So when you go to spaces, some people, when you enter the houses, you take off their shoes. Some people will say, they wipe your feet or they kiss your feet. I'm not sure which, for me, it's like, you can tell that rituals, they are there, but we take it very lightly and for granted. So I think as ladies, I would also like to see how we can find ways of how we can find similarities in terms of rituals, in terms of how we can actually transform and use theatre as a tool to really bring radical change.
Yeah, I think, right? I think all three of you are already very much on the path to doing that, honestly. Sipiwe, you mentioned how this is a male-dominated world and industry. How much of our approach to existing in this industry do you think how much of it is our mindset and how much of it is actually genuinely happening? If that makes sense. This is for all of
I think it is genuinely happening. Like you get to certain spaces, you feel it in the way you treat it, how conversations are happening. I don't think it's a mindset, and for me, what I decided to do so that I can try to find positive ways so that it's not just a mindset thing. Maybe I decided to be resilient. I get into spaces, I disrupt them. If I have to use the word disrupt, I do that, and I use resilience, and therefore somehow it has helped me to to have this courage that you mentioned. I don't know if it was Maria, it was you, Brenda, who mentioned that like you eventually have the courage where things, if you don't agree or you wanna speak, you just break the silence and you speak. But I don't think it's a mindset. Like, I'm also interested about other ladies maybe from the floor, if later, like, but I really feel, yeah, like in the art industry, male are still dominated in TV, in film. Most of the directors, I'm also an actress, like, most of the like directors, producers, they're still male dominated. I mean, we had a workshop about sexual harassment, It's also part of the things that, like, if you're not able to go a certain way, it affects you as a woman, So I don't have a solution. I don't know, ladies, what do you think could be done? But I think resilience mostly is one of the things that one must continue pushing until we are heard.
Yeah.
And also having skills, like knowledge.
I mean, I think it's the mindset should be resilience, because even male, female, whatever it is, there's always going to be so much rejection and so much comparison and so much negative self-talk and that sort of thing. So I think just generally, like you said, resilience is like the ideal mindset to have. But I think there should also be some kind of balance, because I think sometimes when we are too focused on being resilient, it can make us a bit, it can harden us in a way that doesn't allow us to have the softness that our art requires, or the vulnerability that our art requires. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to assert yourself, because you enter into certain spaces if you don't really also find a way to assert yourself, so that you can, because it's not easy, hey? And I think, I hear what you're saying, but
and then what I learned, because in the beginning when I realized that there was an issue of like male dominated and everything, I put so much energy in that direction about trying so hard to prove myself, or constantly calling out the system, the patriarchy, and I realized that I was using so much energy in that space, and it was kind of distracting from the work that I have to do. And I was constantly angry and disappointed, and I got hardened. And so one day I sat down, I said, wait, what is your actual purpose? What is your mission? How can you create and make space for yourself and show up? And these systems are not going to change overnight. You're not going to do it alone. And if you're not careful, you're going to get burnt out trying to solve something that is so deep in the social fabric. And so I say, what part can I play without ignoring that this thing is happening? But if I put most of that energy into creating and taking up space and being courageous and showing up, I'm already doing something about it, and other women can also emulate that, whether they're younger or older, because I believe we learn from people whether young or old. And it changed my mindset completely, because also for the longest time it was kind of like a clutch, I'll be like, oh, we don't get enough opportunities. It's true, we don't, but you can go online, because most of that venting happens online. You can go on Twitter or whatever and just be like, blah blah blah, this is happening. But then in the real life, did you actually finish writing your scripts?
Yeah.
Are you procrastinating by calling out I don't know, so and so? And so once I shifted my energy from complaining and started creating, it solved more problems, because now I'm like, I'm directing. It's a male-dominated space, whether it's film or theater, but I'm doing something. I will complain still, but then I'll be like, I'm complaining because I'm also, I have something to, to show you that I'm worthy of taking up space here. So that completely shifted my mindset, and I think it's the healthiest way to also to go, because we still need our I believe artists need to maintain their childlikeness. They need to maintain that, like, the softness, like protect your sacred, space. Like, you can go to war, but how do you come back to yourself? And, so yeah, I think, again, balance, like you said.
Yeah. So, well, for me, I think the issue of having males, it's not a bad thing, by the way. It's not really a bad thing. But the issue of women being in these spaces is something that is historical, and it's something that us entering into those spaces, it's been a journey for us. It's not something that happened once, waking up one day and all the women were like, you know what, we need to go back to, we need to come to these spaces, we need to be included in these spaces. It's been a journey. And for me, these things, what we are doing right now, these conversations, the discussions, these are the things that are going to help the other women. We might not have the chance to be safe in those spaces, but having these constant discussions, really, I feel they are creating an impact. And also to the issue of, you see, even when you write as a female writer and you give your work to a male director, there is a way they...
You feel it.
You feel it. But for me, all in all, I think this is it's still a movement. We are still on the road, and the more we keep doing this, we are not the Jesuses of we.
But I think we are there. We are actually redefining. We are really
Yes,
redefining
so, for me,
these
I think-
societal norms, the societal expectations. So we are
Yes.
already there.
Yes.
So
So
we
I
need to
think
redefine.
we are not going to just perform miracles. That's what I meant. But we are going to create an impact towards the miracle. So if I put an arm and you put an arm and Brenda puts an arm and all the other women put their arms, so it will create a bigger impact. But what also delays the impact is the shyness. We try to shy away and maybe shelter these people who are really putting us under the armpits or something like that. So if we don't shy away, then I think we are going to keep going. And for me, I believe this is not how we were.
Yeah.
This is not how we were, people. Where we are is better, way better. Looking at what our mothers went through, to really go into those spaces. And also, the other thing that I wanted to mention was artists are vessels. Yeah. And being vessels, it means you don't know what this vessel is carrying. And you don't know what that vessel is carrying. You don't know what I am carrying. The thing is to embrace whatever you're carrying. Talking of the ritualistic journeys, ancestral journeys, it's like we are carrying all the past, because not everyone is an artist, and not everyone is a creative. That's why you find artists are like, these isolated people from society, because we are weird. Yeah, really, really weird. We don't think like the normal people. We do not behave like the normal people. This is in quotes. I'm not saying we are not normal,
And you
but
always have to
guys who can just wake up and create a play. Not normal people do that. So for me, I think also being a lady, we are crossing boundaries. Yeah, we are crossing boundaries, and there are boundaries we are crossing that initially. Looking at the culture norms, looking at the traditions, we were not supposed to cross those boundaries. So there are those forces that are going to keep pulling us behind, but like you mentioned, resilience and then the issue of balance. So that's basically what I think about this.
Mira, you mentioned that you like talking about serious things in a not serious way. So people of mine, how do I approach? Because of where we are,
Yeah.
geographically. There's a character in People of Mine that is that says that he is gay.
Yeah.
But then, spoiler, if you didn't see it, sorry. Plot twist: he's not really gay. He just was having an affair with his friend's wife.
Yeah.
Was that plot twist in the original first ever draft, or is that something that you did because of the kind of political situation in Uganda regarding the LGBT community?
Okay, thank you so much.
Interesting. I'm waiting to hear.
Well, the first original draft has never been complete.
Okay.
Yes, it has never been complete. This is the first original complete draft.
Okay.
Yes, but all that was part of the plan. And now I'm going to be very honest. I'm not afraid of anything.
Please don't. Really.
Yeah, I'm not really afraid of anything because just like I said, society, human beings, we are afraid of what we are. Yeah, in all forms, we are really afraid of what we are, and we shy away from the truth. And one of the things that can solve some of the issues that we have in our societies is not shying away from the real issues, but confronting the real issues. Now, there's an issue of politics, and then there's an issue of sexual identities. Then there's an issue of, let me say, the religious institutions. There are so many issues in all these institutions that I've mentioned. But why is it that when someone writes about corruption, it's the government that is going to come after them and not the society coming after them? Yeah? That means the government is trying to suppress something that they don't want the society to know. And the society is not going to come back chasing the government. Why are you suppressing someone who is trying to put out a message, So there's no coordination. Everyone is trying to protect their wrongs. Everyone is trying to protect where they feel like they should be. They're trying to protect their society doesn't want to come after them because, they feel they are not concerned, but then they are concerned directly. Now, the issue of sexual identities is very, very large, and it's something that we still don't want to hear. Now, for me, and also I understand that the world is going through a lot. I cannot write a play that is going to make people cry. My intention of having that delivered in such a way is to have these people in the audience laugh at themselves. Yeah. These are things they do, and these are things that are happening. But I'm portraying it plainly. You are actually laughing at these characters, but we are actually laughing at ourselves. Yeah. So when we go back home, something is going to strike you. Oh, this character was doing what I'm doing, and perhaps this playwright knows what I'm doing. Why? You're going to become bitter. And for me, that's the bitterness in you is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking at for you coming to me, oh, it's a good play. No, I'm looking at the self-bitterness that is going to come out of you in your room. Yeah? The reflection that is going to come out of you in your room. And then maybe that you mentioned something about the plot twist. Initially, it was a one-woman's play. Regina Komoso. Maybe are you the one who acted in that? It was a fellow emerging artist, Margaret.
I think, you know what you're saying. I was so happy when I heard, like, you know, like this guy thought he was gay, but even though the twist, for me, it was like the source, the critical elephant in the room, just hearing the word gay. I was like, wow, you know, and I loved that bravery for you to just raise the word gay, because just from then, there was a lot of like critical dialogues that were happening. I could see that something like how you're saying, like, you know, you were kind of like thinking people are looking and mirroring themselves. For me, I really respect that you were able to use that word gay. And I know I'm a South African, but for me, I felt like it challenged to get people to start having critical conversations and dialogues about, especially this word gay, you know? So even if like the plot changed, but like the dialogue happened, you know, it was like in the room where, and if there were people that are resonating with that, you know, somehow I believe there was a shift that happened within the audience, but just having that. I don't know if...
Yeah, the twist did not undo your intention. Like it didn't undo you wanting to put a mirror up to the audience. And I think it could have easily done that, but it didn't.
And also, maybe the other thing that I had to mention after is that, do we know what sin is? Yeah? Do we know what sin is? Who is a sinner? Yeah? Is eating food a sin? Is being a Christian a sin? Is being gay a sin? Is, you know, what is sin? Perhaps you are judging me for leaving priesthood and you're calling me a sinner, but you are judging me for sinning differently, you know? Do we know? Basically, that's the whole point of the play. Do we know what sin is, you know? There's so much that is happening right now, and people are judging each other for being this, but behind us we have a very big load of sins that we don't know if they are sins or not. And we, in public, we keep judging each other. You're gay, you know? You do this, you know.
Stigmatize people.
You know, you stigmatize people. So for me, that's the whole point.
But I loved it.
Why are you judging your friend for sinning differently? Do you know what sin is? Basically, that's the whole point. If I'm to cut the whole story short, yeah.
Not sure.
I think so.
Brenda, you had a reading of your play, Make Room. Do you feel that having a reading has the potential to be risky? In that, how much value do you place on the perceived success of where your piece is when you present it?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. Because I'm kind of like, I'm a very anxious human being, and so I tend to want things to go a certain way, or like even just like as an artist, you want your work to be received a certain way. And so at the beginning of the play, I felt like the marks that should have been hitting were not hitting. And so I just sat there, I'm like, oh my God, it's not going the way I thought it should go. And it was so hard for me to, and I was like, but if it was like a play, they would get it, right? And so the thing about having a dramatic reading is that it teaches you so much about surrender and trusting that your audience, they will get it. And I don't know what it is with us storytellers, you're so obsessed with the audience understanding every slight, like, subtle joke. It's like, did you get that? Did you know, I'm so smart. Did you see that? So I feel like the dramatic reading is so necessary because it humbles you a bit, in a sense that you're forced to trust the people who are going to deliver it in this small, minimalistic way, to actually be able to capture the vision for the audience to see the full picture. And so for me, it tested my control issues, I guess. And but I see how necessary it is, because by the end, I was completely surprised by how it was received. I was like, you're kidding me. I was like, really?
It was received very well.
Yeah, like really well, and it shocked me, and then it made me realize that as artists we don't know how to like move away from our pieces, our work, and just be like, here, just let the baby fly. Because I remember even Daisy herself, the actress who played the role, came to me and she was like, Brenda, did I really do that well? And I was like, you did. You did. And I was like, she couldn't believe it, and I had to affirm her and say, you did a great job. And I think because I feel like, because I'm a talker, I love to also, like, my characters talk a lot. So it's like sometimes I'm afraid that when people talk for so long, you lose people. And I think there are parts where, like, you just turn around and someone's like on their phone, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Someone's looking at their phone, they're bored. But then all of that stuff goes away, because I've also learned that it's okay for the beginning to drag. Good stories or any experience it has to be earned. And unfortunately, we also live in a generation whereby everything is like instant gratification. And so I felt like just because people are not laughing at some parts in the beginning, I thought they were not, getting it. But then I realized that it just had to, like anything that, there's a beginning, middle, and end. Like, why do you want people to give you end energy at the beginning, right? So in a nutshell, a dramatic reading is I'm so grateful for it, because it helps me to see the parts that need, reworking, but also to know that trust your audience. Trust that you have written something that is relatable, because I was surprised by how many people could relate to the story, especially as a woman, with a certain background and identity. And so just believe that it's going to be, it's going to resonate, and just let go. And I'm still struggling to let go, but it's a continuous.
Speaking of Daisy, who's amazing, and so she was playing most of the roles. It was mostly just her. How did you as a writer balance like character development and exposition, because you have just the one performer for the most part?
Right. Yeah. So it was my first time writing a one-woman play. I've always been obsessed with them. Most of the actresses that I look up to started out as, performing one-woman plays, and the idea is that a one-woman show helps a character to be able to be different characters. And then if you can pull them off, then I guess you're a great actress, right? And so I feel like it was necessary for me to write these characters distinctively, so that when the actress is performing them, you can see. So I have this, character Bibles, like I break down characters, I give them different, mannerisms and backgrounds and social class, and the whole, there's like a whole thing I got online. And so that really helped me to understand each and every character, so that one character doesn't sound like the other character. And also exposition, I really don't know. That's something I think I'm still working on. I don't know if I was able to pull that off well. I still don't know. But also exposition for me, again, is tied with don't, trust people, that, don't give away too much. Trust that your audience will pick up on something. Because I remember in an earlier draft from when we finished the residency in June, I was given a note that, again, like I said, I was always trying to prompt the audience to make sure that they have, so try and expose things, try to make sure that, they have to get this. This was a really smart line, they have to get it, right? And like my mentor told me, calm down. Your audience is smarter than you think. Like, really trust your audience, they know. And so again, that is how I guess I managed to like do that character, building, and also like exposition. Don't give away too much, just trust that your story will be understood. Because we are so terrified of being misunderstood as artists. I don't know why, but yeah.
I think I think you did a good job with that balance, and I don't think I don't think you were misunderstood at all.
Thank you.
Especially, I mean, the reception, based solely on the reception. I think everyone got it. I think you were dealing with some topics that were on the heavier side, as we saw from like Daisy's performance, but also like what people in the audience were saying. Sipiwe, you wrote your thesis not too long ago, and it was called, allow me to read it, The Theater of Touch, an autoethnographic exploration of ritualized safe touch to counter dysfunction caused by distorted cisgender identification in Black women.
Wow.
Can you please elaborate?
Oh, yeah. And you just, as long as you noted, it was a thesis.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of process of following questions. Because when you start a research, you've got lots of questions that you want to answer. And it's a very long process, because you're continuously figuring, continuously reflecting, if it makes sense. And I think where it started as I am a woman. And I feel that societal expectations, sometimes they put pressure on us as human beings. And these things, they create distortions, like they create imbalances or misalignment. Maybe I can just make a simple thing. Let's say if it's a mother and a father and children. So now if a father decides to be a stay-at-home father, and the mother goes and work and makes more money than their husband, according to the societal expectations, it's like it's just not right. And even we women, once we start making more money than men, we start having those things where we feel like, and I think it's just a distortion, that thing. I feel like we need to review it, because this thing, it's just the labeling of men and women, or father, mother. The mother is the nurturer, is a carer, the father is a provider, it's a protector. I think we need to review those kind of connotations. And I think they are playing a major role in causing these distortions. And where these distortions sit in our bodies. So we carry many things where you enter certain space, but you feel like, but I feel like I can do this, like, in this labeling of a woman, but actually there's a bit of masculinity in me where I think I can enter into these spaces. So it was a matter of figuring the things in the body and what the society expects from me, and also my skin as a Black woman. It's one of the major things. I think certain spaces being Black, sure, like, yeah, like, and people are going to say it's racism, or you're more angry, you're bitter, but I feel like sometimes your skin dictates many things where there's a boundary where it ends, So for me, it was really, and cisgendered women, cisgendered women are women who believe that they were born as women, but I don't know how to. Yeah, I think it's the labeling that I was trying to really look into and see how we can
reevaluate.
Yeah, it's just, but I'm trying. There's something that I wanted to say, and my plane of thought just went. Just give me a sec. So ethnographic research. It's really me really getting into trying to understand all these things that were happening in my life. Literally, it was more about my life. It was more about my country. Mm-hmm. And it's a major problem. In South Africa, I don't know, we've got gender-based violence, which is a major issue, where people are a couple, they love each other, they've got kids, but they murder each other brutally. Mm-hmm. Girlfriends, they get hanged in the middle of streets somewhere. And I think it's all these distortions of the societal expectations that we have that we carry in our bodies, where you're expected to do this, you must do this, you must do this, and sometimes they don't resonate with you. Like you feel like, but this is not me. Like in your body, you know it, that like, you know, these things that don't make sense. You mentioned sin. I mean, that connotation of a sin, for me, as a researcher, I feel like it doesn't exist. I don't want to raise a child who must say to my child, we're born with sin. It's a child. The child doesn't know anything. You know, I'm there. And I also respect other people that they see it as a sin. But to me, I'm like, this labeling and this, we need to redefine these things. Maybe let's find another way of how we can, because we're evolving. Now we are on media platforms, but Instagram, we've got many things. So we can't really hold on to those ways of thinking, of doing things. Let's come together and see through collaborations, through us really reviewing, how do we bring in new ways of you know, what's the word?
Of having everyone filled in.
Yes, and everybody being included, but also comfortable with their own, what's the word? Their own identity, especially identity, because gender identification is also a major issue. Now people are saying, I'm a woman, I'm trapped in a man's body, or I'm a man, I'm trapped in a woman's body. It's their own, how they interpret it, but also it's causing so many havocs.
Yeah.
Because now you're raising children, you don't know anymore. It's all these distortions. I think I was trying to get into all these things. That, are you guys seeing these things that I'm seeing? That now we don't know what is what. Women back then, they never used to work, but now women are in the forefront, like working.
Yeah.
So the gender-based violence is caused by that. They used to stay at home, men used to go and work, but now.
Yeah.
So and I was hoping that we could. I think women has ways of really shifting paradigms, and already I can see it here, like, you know. And I had to come all the way from South Africa to come find my sisters to say, you know, actually we're on the same way. We see these things, and we don't want to judge people. We don't want to exclude people. So let's find a way how we can really redefine together, and we can all grow and move forward.
I don't know if that makes sense. It feels like
I'm doing too much.
you make too much sense, actually.
Yeah.
So just one more. I wish we had more time, but just one more question before I open it up to the audience. So all three of you are multifaceted, successful, amazing artists.
Oh, hi.
What would you say to the 10-year-old Muhirwe, or the 10-year-old Brenda, or the 10-year-old Sipiwe, or maybe a younger creative, you know, a Gen Z female creative who's like, I really want, you know, doe-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to take on the world, and what advice would you give them? Or what were you oblivious to that you now see a lot clearer, that you would advise someone who is more green or someone who is just starting out?
Those days.
Yes.
Well, one of the things, there's so many things, but one of the things is to tell their stories the way they feel they should tell them. Everyone has a way they tell their stories. I know for me as a person, I have the young Muhire who started writing. There's a story I wrote and I got so much intimidation, and they told me to, perhaps maybe the person who was telling me wanted me to tell the story the way they wanted it to be told. Yeah. So for me, I feel I lost too much on that because I was afraid. But the best way is when you are starting to write, tell your story the way you want to tell it. And if you, for example, let me say, in our country like Uganda, if you're not ready to live away from your country, hold on. Hold on to that story that might push you away from your country or that might push you away from your home. Hold on to that story. You are still going to tell that story. Tell another story because they don't end. I know. I don't know if I'm beating around the bush or if it's clear.
Cool.
Yeah, because as a young writer, you still need to grow. You still need your home. You still need the people around you in your country, the people in the same circles as you. There's a time that is going to come and you will be able to fly alone, you know. Not alone, but alone in a sense. Yeah, so for me, that's what I would tell the young Muhire. And also, you know, creatives, when we are overhyped, we feel like we are walking on the moon. Like after my production, you feel like you're on top of the world, you know, and we get over ourselves and we don't want to talk to people who are not in our league. You know, we are so happy, we are so hyped, but let me tell you, if there's you guys are actors, you know that feeling after the curtains go down, and then people are waiting for you, you know, to greet you.
Yeah. Like, I don't have time. Hurry.
So the question is, after that shining, where are you going? You're going home, you're going to sleep, you're going to wake up, and life is going to go on. So if you think you're going to keep living in that kind of feeling you had after your show or after your play, it's not going to happen like that. You're going to still need these people, so it's good to behave. That's the word I want to use. Behave. Yeah? Be you. Still be you. Behave, because when you start, talking, I don't want to, I'm now a celebrity, that's the problem that is actually eating up our industry. Because after shining, after a few productions, like 2 or 3 successful productions, most of the actors, most of the playwrights, they feel like they are not normal anymore. They are not supposed to live on Earth. They are supposed to be somewhere there on the moon and sailing. So it's behave, be you, and the more you be you, is the more good things keep coming. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow. I think I'll just continue the thread from here, because I think for me, I really believe in authenticity. And authenticity doesn't necessarily mean that you know exactly who you are and you figured it out, but it's more about following your curiosity. And what I would tell the 10-year-old me to just continue being curious. It's okay to be a little bit, weird or unlike other kids or other, people around you. It might be lonely, but it's okay, and it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. And maybe also in the beginning, okay, so that was for the 10-year-old, but now let's say anyone who's Gen Z, or if what I would tell my 20-year-old self would be more of don't get bullied out of going to drama school, because I feel like that was one of the biggest things that I kind of regretted for a very long time, but I don't regret it anymore, because I've managed to find my way back and make up for it. But I struggled so much to get approval from family or friends, or even schoolmates or whatever, when I applied for drama at Makerere, and I got derailed a lot because I was constantly being told, you're not going to get money, you're not going to, what do you mean? And I don't know if anyone was there. There was a time when Pablo was talking about Musilu Dala Dala. You guys know that? So for the non-Ugandans, music, dance, and drama is MDD, and people here call it Musilu Dala Dala, and Musilu means
Very, very stupid.
Very, very stupid. So it was such a very, like I carried that around and I just didn't get any support from my family. And so I quickly switched courses. I dropped out of drama school to go and study, media. And so I was able to have a successful career in the media for a while, but then I always felt something was missing. So I would tell my 20-year-old self, like, just finish drama school, it will pay off eventually. Yeah, so that's yeah.
Okay.
So also continuation, be authentic, be genuine, be yourself. Because once you're able to be yourself, you're able to really follow your path. And I'll also tell like a 10-year-old to be confident and not to allow fear to be one of the major emotions in any spaces that they enter. No matter how young they are, they must never be allowed to be intimidated or to have fear. Because I think fear is one of the major emotions that can really stop you from doing many things, or actually stop you from being genuine or being authentic, And for me, now where I am, I think it's more about healing. Really healing, rebirthing myself, like another version of Sipiwe. So letting go the younger version of Sipiwe now. I'm looking forward to this new version of Sipiwe, and yeah, I'm ready. So yeah.
Thank you so much. So now I'm going to open it up to the audience. If anyone has any questions, comments, concerns.
Yesterday I attended the theater of touch session, and I'm just curious to find out have you done make?
Okay.
How
Yes.
is it working out for you? Like, are you practicing it in South Africa?
Okay.
Yeah, how is it working out for you?
Okay. Yes, the theatre of touch, I'm glad that you were able to mention that it's a process. And the process consists of questionnaires. You saw there was a voice of patience. So there was questionnaires that I linked to trigger specifically to get whoever that I might be working with to really focus into the body. Remember, the main focus is the body. And the process is working. So after the questionnaires, and then you get the massage. So there's a pre and a post of the process. And then a person comes up with different themes. You see those after being massaged. So we call it, what is that academic word? So literally it means is you come up with themes from the experience of when you massage that person. So maybe a theme can be like love, can be pain, can be violence, because we all have different anatomy. So, but for me, for example, when I did this creative touch process, my theme was pain, love, and fear. They were all seated in my body. And it was all through the experiences that you have, like from when you were a child, when your adversity, your everyday lives. So I think from that process, I was able to start now finding ways of how do I self-reflect. So reflection is very important. You have a chance now to start doing the channeling, writing down your emotions, where you're sitting, where is it sitting in your body. Literally have a sense of awareness. You start understanding what self-care is, what compassion is, and also empathy. Like when somebody comes and speaks to me, now I'm so heightened, my empathy is very heightened. I'm able to pick up people's energies, and it's also because of the more I massage people, it feels like it's like a ritual. And in South Africa, yes, I am practicing it, and I decided to actually label it like theatre of touch, where people can come if they've got stresses or tensions, and where people can come and maybe re-understand their bodies, how they work, or maybe align themselves, or just therapy. Touch is very therapeutic. So I don't know if I answer your question.
I'd like to know the personal challenges which you guys have gone through and how you've gone about them, and you make you think some other people are going through them.
In terms of Being a
Being a woman,
Oh,
a woman artist. Yeah.
yo, do you have time?
Maybe. But many challenges.
So, but
Yeah.
I think for me the main one has been overcoming my self-doubt, because it's so interesting how I look at it from when I look at my journey in the like my early 20s. Like I was so bold, like you couldn't tell me anything. Like I was so sure of myself, right? But then you get somewhere towards like your 30s, and then like the world starts like to like humble you, like they say, right? And so you start to internalize all these things. You're like, oh, okay, maybe I guess, okay. So you move into these spaces where you're being like humbled for having a voice, for speaking up, for being assertive, for being for thinking different, or for asking for different. But then there are always consequences to that, and so you just start to just like slowly shut down. And then after some time you realize you're like, no, I can't live like that. And so you start talking again, and now you have to find new ways of talking that are not maybe too aggressive or too, you have to find a way, because I've had to learn how to deal with different people, read the room, know who you're dealing with. Don't, if you have an issue with someone, just pull them aside and say something. They might not receive it, or they might, and you might move forward. On our production, I think I remember when we were doing the rehearsals for the Green Line at the Horizon. I had to go away for a week to attend another program, and then when I came back, I had so much anxiety to make up for that week. I'd left some people to handle that, but then my anxiety seeped through my entire cast. Like whenever I would show up on set, people would get anxious, and then literally someone came to me and they're like, Brenda, you're making all of us anxious, and all the work that we have done is starting to like, all the work I'd done for like a month. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was doing that. I'm so sorry. And so I was like, this is my stuff. Let me go work on my stuff so that I don't, So also you need to realize when you're the problem, because not everyone is a problem all the time. So it's a very interesting, and like, Sophia said, we're not perfect. We're going to mess up. I've learned that actually messing up is my favorite thing now, because every time I mess up, I get a chance to, do it better, especially because now I feel like I have the self-awareness that I learn more from failure than actually from success. So the challenges will always be there, but just, again, going back to what they say, be authentic, give yourself grace, and I don't know, just have a good time, because if you think about perfection and you get it, you're going to like lose it, and you want to be able to be the artist that you are, because the world needs that little girl that has had these dreams and this creativity, and so find ways to protect that and learn how to also protect yourself and other women or other artists. It's like I said, I wish we had time, but we can talk in person about more about this. Yeah, so that's
Anything to add?
Yeah, I think, just be yourself. And yes, there are challenges, many challenges. And it's also sometimes to cry, where you feel like you're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You can cry, let it go, release it, There's nothing wrong with rain, because also another thing, we try to hold on these emotions when I suppress them. So for me, when I really have challenges, sometimes I cry. I don't really cry in public much, but like I go to my space, I'm able to just let it go, let it out. And I also like self-care is very important as artists, because we do many things, we enter in many spaces. So when I go into my own space alone, it's like a meditative thing, where I'm able to sit in my own space alone. Self-care, and self-care can mean many ways. I love food, so sometimes I will take myself and eat, So for me, it's like it's soothing, or self-care. And it's not easy in life. Life generally is not easy. Sometimes you deal with unemployment where you don't work all the time. So you gotta find ways how you bounce back. We are human beings, and life is continuously evolving. It's like seasons, how we've got summer, winter. Well, you guys are in summer, So life is like that. It's many seasons. Sometimes you might see bump into me. If I don't see you, it doesn't mean that maybe I might be in my head, but I'm sure if your hair is peeled, like I'll definitely pay attention. So in a sense, I'm trying to say that go understand who you are and how you maneuver yourself in different spaces and healing. Like there's many things we need to have healing. Like if there was a way, I would say we must do a ritual where all of us, even people in this room, where we can just heal. If we have to cry, cry. If we have to dance, let's do all of those things just to release,
I really can't
Cool. So that is it. Thank you so much, Mhiwe. Thank you so much, Brenda. Thank you so much, Sipiwe. Thank you all so much for sitting with us and talking, listening to us talk to each other and for your questions. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Tayo,
Oh,
for moderating.
yes.